Well, hello and good morning and welcome to our crash course. My name is Lasse Gibbs. I'm head of Generative AI Enablement here at Solita. And I'll say some words about what we'll do today, and then we'll get to the actual course. I have some colleagues with me who you'll get to know in just a second. But welcome to our event. If you've been to a Solita crash course before, you might know that we like to keep things real, practical, pragmatic. We talk about how we actually do things, how we build things, how we design things, and so on. And that's what we're going to do today. However, this is a slightly different crash course in that today we are not going to show you anything that is already built by any means. Instead, we're going to share learnings about something that is absolutely work in progress. It's early days, but it's going to be very real. And we're going to talk about some of our experiences in using GenAI in software. So the theme is GenAI in software development, and you're going to see that we're going to talk about it very broadly. It's not about using code generators or co-pilots or anything like that. Instead, we'll talk about more broadly what it means in teamwork and so on. A few words just in case you're not familiar with Solita, the company we work for. We're a European digital transformation company. We're a consulting company. Currently offices in 9 different countries. You can see some of our key numbers here on the slide. 9 different countries, 2,000 plus colleagues in all of those countries. And we work across the technology fields of cloud, data, AI, software, obviously. But we also aim to create organizational transformation strategies, products and services, and all of those things across those technical fields. Our whole point is impact that lasts. That's what we want to do. And that's one of the reasons why we're sharing our experiences with GenAI too, because we think that there's some really interesting things happening with generative AI. We think there's a lot of hype that we actually want to bust, but there's some real stuff behind it, and that's what today's session is going to be all about. Just some practical words about today. This is the agenda, by the way, so we'll talk about something we call the Twin Project, which we'll introduce. We will share our learnings of this project. We'll give you some of our predictions. Now, I did ask our marketing team. I wanted a crystal ball for this event, and Sami here actually had it, but he forgot it at home. So I don't have a crystal ball, but we will still do predictions, don't worry. And then some recommendations so you know what to bring with you after the session. And hopefully by end of day today, you'll all have a new product going live that didn't exist before this morning. That's kind of the ambition level that we're at, a software product, that is. Some practical things. This is a hybrid event. So for those of you watching online, I should tell you that there's people in a meeting room in Helsinki where I'm speaking at the moment. And then for all of you here in the meeting room, there's hundreds of people online watching this session. That means practically that we'll have a Q&A at the end of the session. And for those of you here in the meeting room, we'll hand out microphones so you can ask questions. And for those of you online, there's a chat functionality in the platform. You can ask questions during the session, and I'll try to pick some of them during the session too, latest at the end. So you can ask questions as and when they occur to you. So those are the practical things. That's what Solita is all about. I think it's time for us to get into the actual meat of today. Today will be a conversational event, so I'll be speaking with Sami and Marco here. There's not going to be a lot of slides. Actually, yeah, practical things. All of you who are signed up for this, you'll get the recording afterwards. There's not a whole lot of slides. Instead, this is a conversational session. We'll be talking through some of the learnings Might be a bit of jazzing it up in our conversations, so you never know what we get into with these two gentlemen here. But it'll be fun for sure and interesting. And what we also want to do, as I mentioned in the beginning, make it really practical so you have something tangible to take with you. So we'll try to bust the hype, make sure you get something to take with you. That's the plan for today. Now I'm going to move back to the chair, because this is how we facilitate the conversation. Now it looks better when I'm actually sitting down and talking with these two gentlemen. With you today, as I mentioned, is myself and Marco and Sami. They are the actual experts. I'll just keep asking them questions all along. We'll start, Sami, with you. Do you want to introduce yourself? Maybe share a little bit why you're excited about this project as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hello everyone. My name is Sami Kökkä. I've been here in Solita for 10 years now. On the internet, I've been since 80s, so I've seen the world. I'm quite excited about generative AI, of course, because as a nerd, I'm always following the new trends and new things happening. Here in Solita, for the last couple of years, I have been working very closely with GenAI-related projects and learning new things, new technologies, and of course implementing into these into our projects. My main thing is, of course, create new things, make the world a better place, and this is like there's lots to be done, and this offers lots of opportunities for that.
And do you want to talk a little bit about the background of this twin project that we'll talk about today?
Yeah, absolutely. The idea started maybe around a year ago already. So we started thinking that, okay, we have lots of projects going on here. What would happen if we would take one Solita project and recreate that project, do the same thing again? So we are having the original project, but let's make another team. And their task is to make the same thing. But for that team, the bonus for them would be that you can use whatever AI tools you can and see what happens. It could be like epic win, so that we could suddenly start making everything 1,000 times better and so on. It could be epic fail. We could show that, okay, nothing exciting happened. AI is mostly hype and so on. Or the third option, something surprising could happen. We could learn something new. So we started talking with our customers, finding out the perfect customer for that, and we found one in the ISS. ISS is a leading global provider of workplace and facilities service solutions. And in partnership with customers, ISS drives the engagement and well-being of people, minimizes the impact of the environment and products and maintains property. And ISS Finland is one of the largest private employers in Finland and part of the international ISS group, which has activities in more than 30 countries. They were exceptionally good for this project. We already are making many kinds of projects with ISS, and we took one project, namely their ERP pricing tool, which we are developing at the moment for them, and we agreed with them that we are starting a twin project. We are taking a new team, and we are saying that, okay, we are going to make the same pricing tool with AI tools and see what happens. And this is how it all started.
This is how it started, indeed. I remember actually when I joined, this was one of our the things that were given to me as well. Let's do a twin project. And then with me is Marco. Marco is the guy I usually go to when I want to ask about innovation and experimentation and all of those types of things, but you do a whole bunch of other things. Do you want to introduce yourself and also tell the audience why you're excited about this?
Sure. So my name is Marco Taipale. I'm trying to solve two problems in the world. One is that what is worth of building, because a lot of things that we also may start with when we started with the customers is that maybe you could actually build something even more worthy or impactful. And then the second problem I'm usually trying to solve, which comes typically after the first one, is that, okay, how can we get it done? And as said, I have my programmer background. I started from a kind of tech, but then I moved to more close to the business. I'm ex-serial entrepreneur, so I done most all the roles just because you need to do those when you're an entrepreneur. And then also I worked in large companies, like how to scale up things, and as you said, like experimenting the business and then the technologies. And that's why I kind of jump into the twin as well with Sami. I was like, okay, this is really interesting. I know how to form experiments out of it, how to run those, how to form them, and how to go through the uncertainty that we're gonna face. And that's how I hooked up. And why I'm excited is that I think there's typically, like, when people see something new, you can kind of try to escape that, and then at some point maybe accept that, or you can go like towards it, whatever it means. And I've chosen to go towards it, and that's my curiosity, and maybe a bit of being afraid as well, which drives me.
Cool. So this isn't, to recap, it's an experimentative project. Some of you mentioned working with ISS, building a tool twice, or software twice, one with the actual production purpose and the other one with the learning purpose, and integrated with ERP, which makes it a little bit more complicated than you would normally do. So that's in short what the Twin project is about. I guess we call it Twin because there's two teams.
Yeah.
But they don't look the same, so in that sense they're not identical twins, maybe.
Yeah. We collected a team in this one, and we as we have started from the scratch, almost nobody in the team have had the previous experience with ISS or their product, so we really started from the beginning. But one main purpose was that we used AI in everything in this project, not only with like developing and not only with like designing and so on, but also we were thinking that, okay, could AI help us with like learning the basics of the project? So we had lots of background material and everything, and we started, okay, in order to understand it, why not use AI help for that one as well? So whatever we can imagine, we could use that. The actual original project, as we said, is going on, and this is not a reality TV. We are not in a competition or anything, so we can like talk to them and they can talk to us, and we have like common things going on. But what we are interested is that to find that, okay, is this able to help to speed up? And of course, when we are using our imagination, what kind of imaginative things we can use? And this has been very exciting here, so that do not do something that everyone is doing, try to find out new ways of doing things. And as you will see today, we have found that.
Right. So let's get to the project charter. The slide has a lot of details, but Marco, do you want to talk through just basically what the project is aiming to do?
Yeah, I said it's about experimentation, but experimentation towards what? So we kind of highlighted kind of 4 different research questions that we want to kind of look into. The first one is that what is the impact of AI in terms of efficiency or quality and in the whole life cycle of a software development or a software product? Then we, of course, naturally also want to look into that, how AI may augment roles or how it performs different activities. Since this is a project that is strategic for both Solita and also ISS, both of us are asking, what does AI mean for us? So we want to basically inform those discussions and those plans with real data, with real experiments on the field. And then last but not least, at the ethical consideration, it's kind of obvious that there will be some questions along the way that will make us ask, is it okay? Is this the right thing to do? Is this the right way of using AI? So those are the 4 different dimensions or fundamental research questions that we are asking ourselves. And as mentioned, it's real project with real customer. There's an existing team, and then there's us, and we both are actually in development. So it's none of us has the right answers or even kind of done product.
Right. So you'll be sharing a lot of in-progress things, and I should also probably mention when I think it's maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago since we sort of wrote the brief for this event. That's a really long time in this, so I think just yesterday and this week there's already been new learnings, so you'll hear it all now today, but yeah, 4 weeks is an incredibly long time here. A week even, lots of things happen, so that'll be one of the things that you'll, I think, find out today when we talk about this. So this is about boldly going where no person has gone before, so the obvious question here is, whom of you is Mr. Spock and who is Captain Kirk?
As a Star Trek fan, I more like the new generation, Star Trek New Generation. So I identify actually with Geordie LaForge. I don't know if you remember him. He's the friend of the Data, an android, and he's the excited guy who is like always trying out new things and like saving the Enterprise in the last minute. So I'm the nerdy guy.
My response to that is that I feel that we are, if we take a look at our twin team, we are kind of switching between somebody being Spock, somebody being Kirk, and somebody just wondering who am I in the meantime. And actually, this will make sense when we move forward.
So yeah, and I guess then with all the assistants, there's a lot of data. Then,
Yeah.
Okay, the Star Trek analogy is totally going to work also.
So it's like we have more people in our team. We have the physical people, and then we have the virtual people, the assistants.
Right. Okay, let's move on. So now, this was sort of the basics of the project, why we're doing it. It's a Solita investment. We've partnered with ISS. We're developing actual software twice, kind of. And the purpose of the project we're sharing today, it's about learning how GenAI can change what we do. And again, it's not just about using co-pilots or code generation. It's something a lot more than that. So let's talk about how you set up the project. I'm curious. I've been following a little bit your Slack channels and so on. What does daily work actually look like? So your meeting cadences, do you have dailies, weeklies, the desktops that you're using, and is the coding Git and all of these things? Important questions, practical questions. What does it actually look like?
It looks like we have plenty of different AI tools on our desktop. I think there's So, and it's obvious that we started by experimenting a lot of different tools, but just to give you a bit of like what's there on the screen. So we have like assistants that are assisting and are asking, why are you building such a product? What's the goal? Who's the audience? And so forth. So they are helping us to formulate, somebody might call them requirements, but I would call things to do, things to build, and why they should be built. It was actually interesting when we had those experiences that it started like asking us, why are you doing this? I felt like a consultant that used to ask that from a customer, but it was nice that AI was asking that already. So we have those type of tools, and those are collaborative. So we are sharing the context, not individually, but everybody can look at the same information that is created right there. So what to build. Then we have virtual assistant, as mentioned. We have like we have tried multiple different ways of configuring virtual product owners that can manage the product for us. We have the human version of it as well, but so that we could have 24/7 support for the team to answer any business question. Then we have, of course, concept generation tools that can conceptualize in different abstraction level the concepts that we want to build, and we have those helpers and generators. We tried out a lot of different ones. And then naturally, as everybody could probably imagine, that we have, of course, used the different coding assistants, and we even tried the kind of latest development agents that you could just give a goal, and it would just build it. We get back probably that how well they actually work. But, well, we still do coding assistant, so it probably tells you already how immature we feel that they currently are.
As Lasse told you earlier, we are in the middle of the project. We started some time ago, and we are planning to finish on autumn, which means that we are in the middle of the project. And another thing, which means that we are finding out new tools all the time, and we are like not locking ourselves to single tools. Instead, we want to like quite broadly to find out new things. And another thing is that we are willing to change our opinions, which means that if you ask us something, we might give a different answer based on last week. Well, maybe today we are thinking about something else, and so on. So that is why we are not so much telling you about different tools in here, but instead like talking ways of working. But if you are talking about actual tools, those are pretty much design-based at the moment, because we are in the start of the project and we have been doing lots of designing. We are going towards the actual development work, and of course we are planning to learn new things about development as well later on. But yeah, are we taking questions already?
Not yet, not yet. Okay, yes, you'll have to wait with the questions. But actually, I'll be asking the questions here, I should say. Let's probe a little bit into the tool question, because I'm sure everybody wants to know about that. So, and I know you keep changing your mind. I remember from the early days of the project, you were quite excited about some of the more specialist tools that were asking the annoying consultant questions on why and why and why. Mm-hmm. And now it seems like you're more gravitating towards the more broader universal models. Is that correct? And is that, where do you think that's going to go? Can you talk a little bit?
Yeah, of course, when trying out the tools, for example, some of the examples, one of the most obvious ones is, of course, ChatGPT with the newest models, and other large models like Gemini and Claude and so on. ChatGPT is so advanced, and many times that we have found that we have had specialized tools, for example, UI design, but we have found out that ChatGPT is able to do the same thing, but better. So one of the findings in here that has been that specialized tools, their quality tends to vary quite a lot. Some are not that useful, some are useful at some point. One of the examples you are seeing in here is a tool called UIZard, which is nice. You are like giving a prompt and you get UI designs out. We have had good experiences. It's a great prototyping tool, but for example, the lack of being able to iterate things, that's a limit, and like having only short prompts and so on. So it's like good tool to do small things. But then if you want to go to larger, you want to iterate things, go over again, change small things, then ChatGPT is doing that better. And same kind of things we are finding out. Of course, the Microsoft Copilot, which is like we are using Teams with our tool, and that's transcript feature, which we often forget to turn on. And luckily, that has been very useful for us. And then the assistant functionalities, for example, like I said earlier, we are now building assistants all the time to do small and big things. For example, we are having product owner assistant, which has information, background information as all the documentation. We are making multiple versions of that. We even did have an assistant. One of the team members was on sick holiday for a week. When they came back, our project manager created an assistant for him, feeding the transcripts of all meetings there and saying that do not go through the documentation, do not waste your time. Here's an assistant for you. Talk to them, and this assistant is able to get you up to speed with work in just half an hour. And it really did that. So it's like the conversational interface. These are some examples of what we are doing.
And the other thing I asked in the beginning is then like the meeting cadence, how you work together. Do you still do dailies and weeklies like we would normally do?
We have. You may think that we actually have two projects within one. We have this research project where we're running these 4 different questions, and on that we do, let's say, a meeting cadence of 1 week. We have and we have dailies regarding that. But then regarding the actual software development project, where we actually create the software, which then informs our research questions, that we do quite differently, and we're gonna go into that later. But it's not anymore anything that even remotely reminds Scrum or any kind of well-known agile development framework.
Oh, so we're going to break Agile and Scrum now today. You heard it here first. Okay, so let's then talk about the experiments. How did you set up the experiments so that you actually do it in a systematic way?
Yeah, sure. So as said, there's 4 different major research questions that we are following through. But of course, we cannot answer the research question, what's the impact on efficiency and quality with one experiment. So what we have done, we split down each of those into smaller experiments. The one that you are seeing here is actually too big to be executed. So this is just to highlight what we have in the different experiments, but not the content as such is too big to actually to execute. But just to give you an example, what's in a single experiment. For each experiment, we create a hypothesis which actually just describes what do we believe that happens. Then we create a test which tells that how do we gonna test that if our assumption is correct or incorrect. And then we have key success criteria. So what are the things that should happen in order for us to actually agree that this is now success or failure? And of course, then we have the measurement, that what we actually measure. And then that's the experiment design. Then when we execute the experiment, we come back to this same card. You don't see here all the fields, but we have the fields that we fill in the observations. And the observation means simply what happened. Without judgment, it's good or bad, just what happened. Then we have the next field is about, based on these observations, what are our learnings or insights? That's what we discuss in those research weeklies. That's why we still have them. And then we have decisions. So in decisions, we discuss that, okay, should we do another experiment, which kind of maybe gets more kind of learning from the same topic, or should we do just different experiment, just because there's probably not that much to learn from that certain area. And we have like 35 of these designed. So that gives you probably a bit of picture that yeah, there are so many things that we are looking into.
So to keep things real, can you talk through one experiment? Like, what is it actually about, and
yeah,
what did it result in?
Sure. So one example, I'm just going to hook up with what Sami said, was that we had a virtual product owner. So we asked we thought that, okay, let's assume that this virtual product owner could generate us user stories or even like guide us on development tasks just with few different narratives of what the user wants, like on the high level. Can it generate us what to do? And it was interesting when we actually run that experiment. Yes, it can. It's not surprising. But what was surprising was that when we asked back that, okay, what is the good information for you to generate these? We got responses that, okay, could you give it, me, of course it asked me, goals. You just gave user needs, but what is the goal that I should optimize these towards? Like, oh yeah, that could actually help. So then we went back to the customer and asked, okay, why you want to do this? So nice that you have your user needs, your users has these needs, but what are the goals? Then we got product goals. Of course, the customer asked that, okay, could you give me examples of what type of goals you need? And then, of course, we went back to our virtual product owner asking that, okay, what type of goals would you need? And then we got like a couple of very good, but not very useful. Some of them very useful. Then we got like good goals, and then we actually asked the real product owner that, okay, these are the type of goals. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, actually we have these. And we retried. So that was already another experiment. So that type of experiment experiments, you get the twist of it, and you also get probably how fast we run them. It can be like a couple of minutes, and some experiments, of course, will take like days.
Yeah. One of the good point of this like documentation of experiments is that we are also building the documentation of the project in here, because this is a little bit different than the traditional software project, so that the documentation we produce will be, when working with the AI tools, is totally different. Many times when people are working with AI, it's like currently it's going like we were talking with AI, something happened, and now we have the result. But what if you want to replicate that or come back to that after a year or two? You need some kind of documentation. And this is one of the forms we are having. This is where we are documenting what we have done with the AI, what kind of things we have been talking with it, and so on, so that we can replicate things and we know things that we have been doing. And also, one of our team members actually is doing their thesis work with this one. So this is also helping them, so that they are like doing the academic research for the project. This all means, of course, that whenever we come up with saying that we are making some bold statements, saying that we are able to make decisions 500 times faster than before, if people are saying that, I don't believe that, we have the actual numbers to show from here.
We'll get to the numbers and the speed, but yeah, it's been interesting to follow. So to recap, now we talked about the meeting cadence and the tools that you're using, and you said that they will evolve and change on almost a weekly basis, but also how you're tracking things and documenting. And yes, there is some actual research done as part of this project too. It'll be interesting to see in the fall when things are ready, how much has changed from today versus then not. So that's the setup of the project. The experiments, very systematically organized, the tools you keep exploring, the ways of working, focusing on this being exploration and research, so you've organized the work based on that. Let's get to some of the findings. I think that's what we all want to hear. You talked already about the virtual product owner. I think one of the questions we all have is how is this going to change roles of people in software or in technology projects overall? It's one of the concerns people have too. What's the future of my role or my skill set? So let's start with talking about roles. Here you mentioned something about everyone being a team member. Do you want to elaborate on what you've learned about roles and the dynamics there?
So one of the realization that because we were testing a lot of tools in the beginning, as probably everyone is like, okay, well, how about this tool? How that will help in this activity? How I code faster? How I test faster? How I deploy faster? Can AI help on that and that and that? Then at some point we realized that it's actually not about these tools. It's about how do we interact them as a team. Because you would be super effective as individual, you would be still dependent on other people and how do they work. So there we started thinking and going more into the direction, okay, it's about how do we collaborate, what is our interaction between, how do we use this as a team, not as individuals. And then we can still respect, and we still respect in our experiments, everybody has their professional kind of role. You're good at something, and you identify with that. And at the same time, it doesn't really matter, as long as you're part of a team that creates value together. So we've formed ourselves as a cross-functional team. Well, that's a very agile thing, nothing new there. But actually just realizing that and then thinking that, okay, we create any assistants that can help with doing any activity or helping with augmentation of any role. And nowadays we create them in a cycle of 15 minutes. So it's not a thing that you need to build up a huge, create like huge AI assistant with a specified model and blah, blah, blah. No, you can just build it when you need it. And well, that has led to the agile with AI, which has led to interesting realization of results. Because then when you start working as a team, you get like different things than you get by just using a tool individually. Because then it comes back to that, okay, how do we work together? How do we get full use cases done? How do you get decisions done on anything as a team? Which we have some results there.
And how big is the team, by the way, just for clarity?
We have 7 people.
Yeah.
7 people.
Yeah, but we have also some people coming and going. But the structure of the team is, we intentionally designed the team so that we have many people from many approaches. We have junior members who are like doing their first software projects within Solita. Then we have seniors who have seen the world, and we have like people on all levels. But what we found out actually is that the seniority doesn't matter that much in this case. It's like it's the attitude of people, how willing they are like to throw themselves into this project. So if you are like able to maybe a little bit unlearn something from the previous world, some people were a little bit worried that okay, maybe I should read the book first, or maybe I should like get myself ready for this. And other ones was that okay, I'm in, let's do it, let's start working. Those who are like brave and start working immediately, they got really up to speed. Whereas some others is like they were a little bit hesitant of getting on. But nowadays, all our team members are like they are fully in and like fully trying out things and fully excited.
Yeah, this is something we talked about already some time ago. We were writing Solita's own GenAI strategy, and one of our hypotheses there is that this is going to change the senior and the junior roles in ways that we may not know. We could predict, but you're saying the sort of attitude or mindset becomes a more leading thing.
Absolutely, yeah. And of course, one of our hypotheses in the beginning was that, okay, will AI make like, will it make seniors out of juniors and like gurus out of seniors? And of course, this is like helping people quite a lot. So it's like it's a little bit like a superpower for people.
When everyone is a team member and you can switch roles and so on, maybe I'm jumping ahead of things, but I'll mention the one about the psychological safety and being part of the team. Now, if you're switching roles and if you're a software engineer and all of a sudden you should play the role of, I don't know, the product owner or the Scrum, how do you make it work so that people feel comfortable in that?
It's a really important question. I think that's probably one of the things that will challenge the organizations the most. That how do you, if you want to work the way and get those type of results that we have some evidence of, it will require a lot from the people and in different ways that we probably thought. I for instance thought that this is gonna be like huge information overflow and that's the gap. But for us it seems to be it's much more about if you are gonna work in a group, everything is done in a team. Nothing is done outside team. So you get like very naked in terms how you work. What's your way of writing code? What's your way of writing email to the customer? What's your way of designing something or deciding something? It's not that we decided there somewhere. No, you decide here. Use it here with the team, and we decide it right now with the information that we have. So suddenly, all these curtains go away, and we have plenty of them. It's surprising how much we have them once you start working in a different way. I felt really naked, and I was the senior guy. Like when I was first jumping there, and everybody watching what I'm doing, everybody's seeing it, everybody's seeing me being very clumsy with the AI. I think that's actually one of the things that what we share. We are in the same level in terms of how well we know how to use AI in software development. Nobody knows. That's what we are figuring out. So that makes us like having the bond. When we discussed with other folks who have tried some of these things, like SpaceX folks or Tesla folks, they mentioned we asked that what is the one thing that you need to make right if you want to like work with help of AI in your product development or research or whatever. And they mentioned psychological safety, which was really interesting if you consider that they are in very different culture, probably even a very different corporate culture than Solita. And still they mentioned the same.
Yeah, and one of the fundamental findings for me as well during the project has been that, of course, we all have fears that will GenAI take our jobs. So is it like that we just ask GenAI things and it gives out ready results? It's not going to be that one. Actually, one of the fundamental findings was that you can use GenAI or AI tools in general in two ways. You can do what AI tells you to do. So it's like you are asking it for things and then it's telling you that, okay, type this, and then you are saying that, okay, I have an error, what do I do now? And suddenly you find out that you are asking AI, what do I do now? And that is telling you what to do. That's not the proper way to approach things. Instead, humans are those who are telling AI what to do. And they are like driving the thing. And that's what's happening in teams as well. We are team members and AI is like our tool which we are driving, and we are like giving it instructions, and we are like splitting things and having the human insight and finding out, using that as a help for us. But the people are ones who are driving things. And understanding and working as a team of humans, it's like what is the most important thing here?
So if anyone thought here that we'll be talking about the difference between all the different co-pilots and code generators and so on, no, instead we're talking about psychological safety in a team and the role of individuals, because that's what actually matters. Those are the actual findings of the project, I guess. Now, you're not going to get away with putting 50 to 500 times decision-making speed on a slide and not having to somehow explain this. So yeah, what's that about?
Things get really interesting when we thought about bringing the customer as part of the team. Typically there seems to be, no matter how agile you are, there's typically like a vendor and then there's a client, or there's like internal customer and your team is working for your internal customer. You meet your internal customers in your meetings and where you get to review the results and decide what to do next and so forth. Cycle times differ. It may be happening daily, it may happen weekly, every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks, who knows. We work quite differently. Our product owner is part of the team all the time. He, in this case, did for instance, 3 different business decisions in one 15-minute rotation. Which, if I think about those, what type of business decisions, typically I see those taking a week. I'm asking one person, he says that, well, I need to talk with my stakeholders, and then they have a meeting next week, and then we like, okay, what we do next? Well, try to do something useful. Yeah, we try to do something useful. But it's very different. And if you just simply say that, well, if we do 3 business decisions in every 15 minutes for the whole day, in every 15-minute rotations we go how we actually work very, very soon, it ends up being such a number. It's not magic. But I can't tell you what exactly that compared to the other team that we are twin of, how fast they make decisions. But their conditions, that I know that their conditions are not such that they would have like that type of decision making happening all the time. And it's not only about AI. Everybody there's reason why AI is in the picture, because it gives us the capability of getting stuff to show fast. Or getting stuff to decide fast. Because many of the practices we use are like 10 years old. Pair programming, mode programming, you'll find those things. Those are not probably that widespread, because nobody wants to have like 5 people looking at the screen when one guy is writing a single line of code. That's not very interesting. At some point you start like wondering why I'm here, why I'm sitting here. I could be somewhere else. I come back here when you have something to show, right? But what if you have all the time something to show?
So there's, decision making, but what you're saying is now the decision making can be based on actual outputs, something real and tangible, as opposed to theories or hypotheses or like requirements text and things like that, which are still only guesses of reality.
Yeah, the speculative inventory shrinks. That's the fancy word of saying that instead of the guesstimates or speculative stuff that we might do, okay, here it is. What do you think about this? What do you think of 40 different variations of this? Which of these we should go move forward? Oh, okay, what do you think about the data model which is generated here? Are the right fields in? What do you want to see here? Could you tell me about the business implications of this? Or what was the goal?
Speculative. Inventory shrinking, that's a great term.
One of the real-world stories was that actually just 1 week ago we were having one of our meetings, and what happened in this meeting was that we were in the same room with the client and the whole team, and we made the decisions that, okay, what we are making today, we are making a product selector. And in actuality, it started, we were doing 15-minute sprints, and it started the way that we started to create the data model. We started by asking AI, saying that based on the information you have earlier, build us the first version of the data model, which it inputted instantly. Then we were together watching the data model. Our client was like using their own internal AI, pulling in things from their information system, saying that, okay, it's missing this one should be a little different, and so on. We were instantly able to iterate with AI, building the data model, doing the modifications, and about in 15 minutes we had the proper data model. After that, we were able to move forward, saying that, okay, based on this data model, we want to create now a user interface where we are selecting products, showing things. And we had information from the AI again, saying that we were instructing it that based on requirements, everything else we are having. Build us a prompt we are able to give to the UI interface tool so that we get the first iterations. So in about 15 minutes, we had another one. Now we had already UI prototypes ready. And of course, because the client was there, they were able to show that this is going to work, this is not going to work. We were again able to iterate things and coming up with a good thing. And going on forward to that one. As we were discussing with different assistants using the existing information, our client being there, giving the instant feedback of us, utilizing their own AI and having many different sources, we were able to make things in real time. And that is like 30 minutes to get the use case done. Or another slogan, 20 sprints a day. These are the actualities of prototype things. Earlier in the previous world, the prototyping thing, as you all know, could be that, okay, we set up 3 workshops, calendar time, maybe 6 weeks, and then we are like getting to know each other and making prototypes, showing them to the client. They are giving their input and then taking a week or 2 to build things and then going. We could have a couple of iterations, come up with one prototype. Now we are doing 15 minutes or fast iterations. We are having different kinds of options. And actually we are able to make like 10 different options and say that, okay, which one of these looks best to you? And then we are able to take that one and build that forward. So we are able to expand things. We are building lots more prototypes. We are building lots more MVPs, and we are taking best things out of them and using that. So iteration and having the AI tools to build up things fast is the main point. And as you all know, AI is not making things perfectly, but that's the point of MVP. It's the minimum viable product, or like doing minimum prototypes. We are not making the actual deliverable. It's not going to look like the final one, but we are trying out things and seeing those ones live. And that's the superpower we are having.
Right. So it sounds like requirements gathering will never be the same. Again.
Pretty much.
Right. Here's a picture of the team. I think you've talked about what is happening here already. But again, to be really practical and give everyone something tangible to take with them, do you just, again, want to talk through how you actually set up these collaborative AI development sessions?
Sure. So first of all, we only use one computer. That's why everybody's looking at one screen. Which may sound crazy, but that's what we do there. And what's happening right there, well, Sami kind of already described the data model thing, so that was one of the things where we're right there doing. So, and the light blue color guy is the product owner, as mentioned. The client is in the room. And we split the whole day for 45-minute time slots. And then we have 15-minute rotations. And those rotations means that everybody in the room only have, you are carrying one of the roles. You are either driver or you're navigator. That's all. No matter if you're project manager, software designer, whatnot, it's your actual role. But this is your rotational role. Driver is in the keyboard of this one computer. Everybody else is navigator. Driver makes decisions whatever she or he does, and he has all the AI assistants and all. We already kind of saw our desktop, so all the stuff is there. And basically, the navigators are helping the driver to drive. So they are maybe asking a question. Why did you do that design decision? Or they may like, I would like to see this and that done. And these AI assistants are created on demand. So we create them with this one computer and on the run. And basically, the one-day example that we have here, we first spent the first 15 minutes just to define the objective. And we use AI to help that. So in the pricing tool example, for instance, we asked of course, the human product owner that, okay, what do you think is the right objective here? We discussed that he described, well, they would like to have more automated pricing. I'm like, okay, what's a single KPI that could tell us that? How can we measure that? And we had that discussion going on with the first rotation, so 15 minutes. Then based on that, we choose the first possible use case, and once again, we use AI assistants to generate us a couple of different possible use cases. And of course, the client had in his mind about possible use case. And then we also asked AI to prioritize some of the use cases that we came up with. And then once we had chosen that, we started kind of a build, measure, learn loop, which basically took us like 2 to 4 different rotations. And Sami just described earlier what were those type of rotations. We chose to start from data model. We could have started from the user interface. Whatever kind of suits your team. When doing this, we've done a couple of these now, so it can go any route. There's no like definite route that please do this in this order. That's just as you heard, we iterate a lot. And then we basically generate everything, so data models, the UI, the logic in test-driven fashion, so that we also get the test plans, and we actually get the automated test case out, and that happens. Actually, most of that 15 minutes about moving stuff from AI tools to the editor. And then, of course, in the editor, you have the fancy Copilot. I mean, you can use that to refactor the bits that you're not happy with. For instance, we had a static class, if somebody is curious about it, and we had to refactor that to the interface, but that's like minor detail. But we did that bit of work, but we changed very, very little. And then we went back to the step 2. What's the next use case?
Yeah. In the future, the copy pasting thing will also be replaced by AI and made even faster. But yeah, couple of notes here as well. This model, the KPIs, what we are doing, for example, during single day, we are basing this on the model Tesla has been doing quite a lot with their work. We are in contact with them and have lots of role model and information from them. And for example, in their business, the KPI could be that today we are shaving off 0.5 kilogram from the car seat. And then they are doing that. So there might be small approaches, but because we are doing this often and fast, we are able to make small steps and going towards the larger goal we are having. And of course, the cadence of the day. I don't know, this reminds me of elementary school. I don't know how many of you suddenly noticed that, okay, 45-minute sessions and then 50 minutes free time. It's like being back to elementary school.
That's actually a very important note, that we have 45-minute sessions. The whole day was split like so. So what happens with those 15 minutes of every hour? We have a break. Yeah. This is such an intensive work that we just feel that we need that.
Yeah, and the actual concrete thing, for example, being AI assistants, as told earlier, we are not like locking ourselves to certain tools. In this case, for example, nowadays we have been using ChatGPT Enterprise quite a lot and having AI assistants, but we are building them on the need-to-know basis. We have like tens and dozens of assistants. If we need a new assistant, we are able to make one immediately. We are not making an assistant and use that whole project. Instead, we are making those, throwing old ones away, making new ones, and like using tools in an agile way. And like as the original goal was, try out all kinds of things and be innovative with them. And we have noticed that it's so easy. Why not? Why not create a new assistant for a thing?
We're going to move ahead to the predictions because we promised to deliver some predictions. But I do want to, at least one thing that I'm not hearing you mention, which I'm really happy about, but the thing that we heard about last year, everyone talked about productivity boost and typically expressed as a percentage of developers' time. I'm happy that's not something you brought up. This is actually all about the speed through iterations. So faster and more iterations, as opposed to just like a productivity boost of a developer time. So that's one thing I'm definitely also picking out of this.
Yeah.
I think that's...
We have more time to do like really exciting stuff.
And that's what we want AI to enable. We want it to enable us to solve problems that previously were too difficult to solve. So at this point, I wanted to have my crystal ball, left it on the table so we can start predicting the future, but we'll do it anyway.
You have a virtual crystal ball.
Yes, imagine I'm holding one now. That would be just a gimmick, so we don't actually need that. We've talked about the sort of... Actually, I'm going to move ahead to... No, sorry, we'll stay on this one. We've talked about these things, speed, the parallel working. But I want to start with the last one here on the slide, which is living services, data as an integral part of everything we do, and the whole concept of living services, which to me, when we're discussing this, is like everything will live dynamically all the time. How many releases can we now do? A day, a week?
It's just to give you a kind of benchmark. Of course, the online or e-commerce have been doing like multiple days, multiple deployments a day, and so forth. And for instance, Tesla is doing every 12 hours they're doing a new version of a car. with the hardware. So that gives a nice benchmark for us as well.
I wonder, 12 hours.
Yeah.
So every
Yeah,
twice a day.
Yeah, when they are doing a release, they are updating the robots in the car building line and making cars with their new changes.
Yeah. So was the third car is totally kind of different or something.
Yeah.
And rockets. So if they can do that, I'm pretty sure we haven't even found what's the limit. Of course, there are things that you need to consider, like transaction cost. So if every release requires like huge training of the people to use that software and blah blah blah, so maybe it's not that simple. But still, like technically, we could like maybe there was already discussion after the day that could we just release this now? Is the prototype so good that we could actually get like wider feedback, not single product owner, but actually people using it for something? Which I think is interesting discussion, and I think it's a really contextual discussion. Would it make sense? Obviously, we are not here, since it's a twin project, as said, it's about learning, not shipping like every day or something. But that's an interesting thought, and I wouldn't rule it out. But I think the living services also relates to the idea that we haven't tried yet, but an experiment that we have designed already. What if AI would analyze the current behavior patterns in the current ERP solution that they have and would come up with suggestions what we could do in the product to help the product owner to come up what's the right thing to do? Because currently it's speculative. And that would inform, and then we would have like iteration in the large that we would actually, the service would be living based on the interaction, what happens in production, and the development would kind of be really informed by that. And that's one of the things that we want to explore further, but we haven't yet. Just a thought.
Yeah. And so we've already talked about speed and iterations quite a lot, but on the second one, set-based design and working on ideas in parallel, which obviously is a result of all the other things that you can do, but how can that actually, how do we as humans cope with working with lots of things in parallel? Because machines can do that.
Well, if just to put really simply, you could just set a couple of these Collab AI teams, like collaborative AI teams. We've just demonstrated one. We have one, but you could just put many of them in parallel. And then you could do set-based design. So the cognitive load for each team would be same, but you would just do it that way. Obviously, there's the agent thing, the agent question, that what if AI is put in doing, multiple agents are given the same goal, and let's see what happens. But we are not there yet. The agents are not that mature.
Yeah, we have been trying out with them. So you may have heard about programming robots, which have like a orchestrator and different models. One is doing UI and one is doing programming and so on. And you are just giving a task and the virtual software team is building you the software. We are not there yet. We need humans in the process as an orchestrator. They might be better in the future, but we still believe that there's room for humans to keep their hands on. It might be that when we have good things and we are able to have like those virtual software teams, it means that, okay, why not have humans running like dozen virtual software teams in parallel, taking out the results, and then we can start on higher level, like choosing things that, okay, this software looks pretty good, let's combine it to this one, and then have a higher level tool combining these. So we are like continuing our work, but on the more abstract level and doing more high level things. And this will be the right direction because we are then solving the actual problems instead of like tinkering with small details.
Awesome. Is there, just on the theme of predictions, do you have any sort of reverse predictions? So anything you want to highlight, something that people think would happen, but actually based on your learnings, you think is not going to happen?
Well, currently my finding is that one of the things I have been most disappointed for is that AI as a black box. So it's like the thinking that you could have an ultimate prompt and then give that to the model and get something good out. It almost never happens. You have to like do it bit by bit in smaller parts. And then of course I could spend whole day griping about different things like Finnish language transcription quality and like AI not being able to understand me, how RAG, like the document fetching, is like taking only top 10 documents and pretending that, like how it doesn't know about everything else. Those are the things that we are, of course, going to solve. But here in the summer of 2024, where we are now, there are like some things that work pretty well, some things that are amazing, and some things that are disappointing. And these are something that, okay, perhaps today we don't have time to those, but we are going to tell and share those all the time.
Right. Anything, Marco, from you?
I mean, one of the discussions that we had, because we've had these conversations with ISS, and also they had their thoughts about what's AI for them, and also like what are the implications of these to them. And one of the challenges they were, okay, it's nice that you do 500 decisions at that level. What does it mean for us, like doing it on the portfolio level? Like, can we? Is it that we can do more, or is it that we need to focus on few? And for them, it's sad to say, but there you actually need to make the decision that where do you put such an effort? If you want to work in this way, we already have like lack of product ownership, right? And now we're saying that, hey, in order to have these results and actually get any like that level of benefits from AI, instead of talking about, okay, the developer can be such and such more effective in the code writing, it requires focus. And in order to have that focus, so probably somebody expected that now we have all these possibilities and we can just put more stuff on our portfolio because we are AI. No, you actually need to focus on the things that matter in order to get the benefit.
Which is kind of a universal thing anyway, even before AI. Right, we're a few minutes away from the Q&A. We're going to have your recommendations, and then we'll do the Q&A. And at this point, I'm just mentioning this so everyone can be ready for their questions, and I'll be brutally transparent about the Q&A too. I haven't been able to actually access the chat questions, so we might not be able to take them today, but I can promise you we'll have a look at them and answer them in some shape or form afterwards. So I'm counting on the room here to have tons of questions. But yeah, let's move to the recommendations. We want to leave everyone with something tangible, and I'm hoping that everyone's realized that all the learnings we're sharing here are real-life learnings from this week, from last week, about the tools, but more about what it's actually like to work when you bring in AI into every concept of a software or any technology project, I guess, for that. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a software UI or if it was a data platform or something, it's the same principles would apply. And you're realizing then that it's about the teamwork, and then it changes the speed and the iterations. It's not about the co-pilots and tools like that. But Sami, you have 2 recommendations. Start with the small in 2 minutes.
Yep, sure. So the first recommendation, what we were speaking today, we are calling it collaborative AI method. So it's like agile, but modern and better. And we feel that it's great. And already now within Solita, we are planning to implement it into the further projects, because it's like we feel that it's speeding up things, it's making things better. Another thing is that, okay, tools are evolving constantly. So as said, AI is not ready. We are not even closely there. We are just in the beginning. And as the saying goes, that the tools we are using now, they are the worst of human history. They will only get better. So be brave with those tools. Be curious. But another thing is that don't forget that you have to document things. And in 2 years, if you want to come back to things, you have to have some kind of documentation. You have to say things. You are not, do not go to the trap so that we were talking to AI and nice things happened. If I don't know how to do it again, perhaps there will be something different. So use kind of like method for saving the thing you were doing and maybe even save things. For example, when we are using internal AIs, maybe running them into Docker and saving the Docker image so that you have that in the future and show that to the future AIs, which could them laugh to you and so on. But yeah, documentation and saving things and saving your knowledge. Having the local knowledge is also important. Do not give all your knowledge away to the OpenAI or Microsoft or other things, but keep it yourself as well. Those are near future recommendations.
And then we get the more longer term.
Yeah, I think that, what does this mean? Like for the organization to work with AI, like a broader picture. I think that what we've explained, I think, or what's the kind of between the lines is that you've heard about a story about empowered team with data to make decisions themselves. That's what we expect, I think, in the future. So that's kind of message for any organization. It also means flat hierarchy. If you have a hierarchy that hides information. And then what's interesting that we heard elsewhere, so the SpaceX and so forth, they have this 1,000-year goal and clear KPI. I was thinking that why that's so important. And when we were working in such a speed with decision making, so and so, we went constantly back, okay, but what was the thing that we are doing here? Why we are doing this? And suddenly the 1,000-year goal, okay, they want to do this and that, and now this is important. This is the KPI that we are after, because we have so many options, so many concepts, so many ideas that we could do. Then the real question is what we should do to be informed about it. And the more confusion you have about that, the less you're actually doing anything productive. Then the second recommendation for me is that you need to, of course, ensure the scalability of whatever we've said here. So, of course, this requires governance. I mean, you need to be clear on where you use your AI for. What do you want to give away from your knowledge base? We are constantly in that conversation with ISS during this project. They're like, but that's our business critical information. We're like, okay, what's here in business? What's the business critical? What do we don't want to give away? And then, of course, we need to have a infrastructure in place, and we are building that infrastructure. And we can't collab AI every day because we need to improve the infrastructure to support the new tools, new stuff that we are doing. So we are in constant battle of that. Okay, we would like to move faster, or we need to now fix a bit of infrastructure. Okay, now we can go again. We hope that that's going to go away when these tools are going to be more mature. But that's a pain that we have had.
Well, there we have it. Practical recommendations from the people actually doing this. Before the Q&A, I'm going to say just a few words, and then we'll move to the Q&A. And as some of you may have noticed, I was delivered this laptop with actually the questions from the chat. So we do have some questions from there too, which is excellent. You will hear from Marco and Sami more over the next weeks and months, because we're going to start a video series where you guys will continue the conversation from the project. It's called this, I'm going to read this from the slide, Discovering, Uncovering, and Hype-Busting GenAI. That's our marketing language. So you'll hear more about these insights on a weekly or bi-weekly basis going forward. So this is not the only time, this is kind of the start, but they'll be sharing their learnings and reflecting over these video series over the next few months. Our next crash course is going to be in September on a different topic, radical data transparency. But those are the practical things I wanted to mention. And obviously, I have to thank ISS, the whole team at ISS for partnering with us on this one. So thank you everyone there. It's been a really good collaboration, and we look forward to continuing it. So thanks to everyone at ISS for being on this journey with us. We wanted a real case. We wanted to build something real, and that's what we're doing. So that's amazing. But now it is time for the Q&A. Does anyone here in the room already immediately have a question? And then there's a hand raised. And then if Olli can deliver the mic, and we'll have that question. After that, I'm going to ask one here from the chat, which is a really, really good one.
Yes, thank you. First of all, thanks for the presentation, really interesting. I have a question around the actual team and the roles there. So could you talk about how you see with your experience now within this twin experiment, the kind of specialist versus generalist roles of the team members when they're rotating and all that kind of stuff?
So you want to hear more about that aspect?
Yeah, exactly. Because in traditional software development, you have data engineers, maybe UX designers, all that. But now people are rotating. You have AI as a assistant.
Yeah.
I can imagine that this somehow will change or can be different. Or maybe you feel like everybody should be a generalist, or maybe you...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So there are a couple of, let's say, implementation patterns that you can go about, depending what do you want to get out of this exercise. If you want to just get speed, you put the best driver in, best specialist of that area. So if you're doing concepting, put the UI designer in. If you're doing data model, put the data guy in, or data person in. Though, in order to level up and get like best kind of level up the skills of the team, you may end up using different pattern, which is like the least skillful driver. A person who has never written a single line of code doing that. A person who has never done data modeling doing that. Reason being that they will learn it. After 27 iterations or rotations, you're pretty good in it. And you have your best buddies, everybody watching you doing that, supporting you doing that. We were in the level that, for instance, in one of our rotations, we had like a person saying that the navigator was telling the driver, yeah, go a bit more left. Yeah, that menu there. Crazy, right? But imagine that this person is in this team for 3 months. You can put him to any project doing that type of work. So it depends what you want to get out of this. Why do you do it all the time, like everybody in sync, is that then we don't need any meetings. Everybody knows. Everybody knows why we did that decision. Nobody needs a memo. If you need a memo, like after 2 weeks, you have a catch-up assistant that will tell you. You don't need a meeting for that. So it's quite different, yeah. But will it make everybody generalist? Somewhat. But I think we still have like our own expertise, deep expertise that just doesn't show up in a session, and that's fine. But yeah, we asked also like the SpaceX folks that, hey, do you put your product manager to code? And yeah, a lot of that.
So everyone can be a bit of Spock and a bit of Kirk and all the others every now and then. Thanks for the question. I'll do one question from the chat, and this is one that I also feel somewhat accountable for. It's a different one. So we are talking about diverse insights and creating the directions where AI should move. But I, as in the person asking, I only see 3 men in the team, and you're talking about the product owner as a he, too. Aren't you creating biases without having insights, at least from women's point of view, too? And in the photo, too, it didn't look very diverse.
That was one of the realization very early in our project. We were like, oh gosh, when we're putting the team pictures on, and shame on us.
Yeah, all male panel.
Yeah, but just to be very transparent, that the program that you saw in our Collab AI session, there's also she product owner, so we have that as well. So that's the reality of the thing. But yeah, I think you're very that's very true, and that's not desired. That's not by design. But yeah, we have a female product owner, but she couldn't come to the session, so we had another person coming in. And as said, he was using the knowledge base of the company.
Right.
So it's not that he has all the information. He can't have all the information. Nobody knows. So it's not that, but I think that's very, very, very valuable perspective. And I would like our team to actually have international people, because we are an international company, but in our team we only have Finnish people, which is rather sad.
Yeah.
Good point.
I think there was another question in the audience from a gentleman over there. We'll take that one.
Hello, hi there. My name is Anton, and yeah, I listened to the kind of driver-navigator combination that you have in the team, and this driver was using the applications. There was no such situation that AI application was talking to an AI application. There was always human in the middle, is it so?
As said, we were doing copy-pasting ourselves, but it's like it's a waste of time. It would be great if we would have AI things like communicating better with each other, but it's like, as said, it's now just 2024, so it's like having the applications talking to each other, that is just coming.
So as Sami, I think you mentioned in one of the examples that you gave that we asked a tool to give a prompt to another tool.
Yeah.
So we were doing that AI to AI collab, but it was through humans. And I think this is good that we have humans in the loop. but just to highlight that we were kind of doing that, but in very crude fashion, because, well, tech is not yet there.
Yeah. The term, there was about half a year ago in ancient history, there was talk about new title of prompt designer, and that being a job of future. But we find out that the best prompt designer is AI. So we are describing what we want to do and tell AI that, okay, could you make a prompt for that, so that we can use another tool.
Yeah, we do a lot of reverse prompting, which is a fancy term of saying that we give we would like to have something like this. What's the prompt for that? So we give previous projects examples so that we get what we want.
Yeah. Again, technical detail in the ChatGPT assistants, there should be a way of having being able to point to different assistants and so on. We have done some preliminary tests with that, but it's not that useful yet. So if OpenAI, you are listening, make it better.
Yeah, AI to AI communication.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we have another question in the audience.
Hi, my name is Teija. Thanks for the nice presentation. Very interesting. Sorry for a boring question, but have you been able to compare the costs of these twin projects?
That is a good question. I don't know. Do you know?
Cost in terms of the outcome and the cost of the labor, or?
Yeah, could I go now and justify at my workplace that, hey, we should really do this because it's going to save a lot of money and
Yeah, I get it. Rather than talk about the cost of individual teams, I mean, we are about learning. We are not even about shipping the software. So obviously, that's not very relevant for us. So we haven't. I think it's easy to dig up how much time we have used and use that as a baseline. But I think that if I would go and when I'm going to customers explaining this and why they should do something like this, I'm just asking that how much it costs you to have the software not ready one day earlier.
Yeah.
And typically that cost is much bigger than whatever we are worth in terms of our cost. So it's about cost of delay is the function if you want to look it up, and I would use that as a rather than talk about like how this way of doing and that way of doing is cost effective, if it is even.
And I'd probably add from a strategic Solid point of view, the other benefit of this is the precision of the solution, because it's based on so many more iterations that then that's not a direct cost, but if we can get a more precise solution this way, then obviously that's beneficial to all. I'll ask a question from the chat now. When you find better tools, do you then revisit the tasks the now obsolete tools did? So as you know, if there's something that you couldn't find a good tool for, do you go back? Or if there's a new, better tool all of a sudden coming out, do you go and retro fit something? Maybe it's too early, but...
It might be that we have already gone over to do different kinds of things, so we are not having like problems that are waiting to be solved. Instead, we are using the tools that we are currently having. If there is a new, better tool available, and of course, we immediately like take the opportunities they are providing and utilizing those ones.
We've done a couple of experiments, so that in the experimentation title it says this experiment X tool, and there's another one with Y tool and Z tool. So we've done a bit of that, but it was really early when we did that, because we just wanted to have like what's the tool set to cover everything from concept to CAS on that journey? What are the tools that we need? We need some design tools, we need implementation tools and DevOps tools and whatnot. So we were kind of looking around. Nowadays, it's more like, okay, if something pops up, as we just take it in, and you do a couple of rotations, and you know already that, okay, it's pain, or yeah, it's actually something useful.
All right. Any other questions here in the room? We have time for one more. We'll go with the gentleman here, because you already asked that question. It was over here. Make it a good one. It's the last one.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. My question is regarding the use of these AI tools. So if we have two different companies, company A and B, and they have people with the same working titles like data scientist, data analyst, etc. So don't you think that if people tend to use these AI tools, there wouldn't be much difference in the product value that they generate between companies? So would there be like a situation where there's no added advantage of company A over company B?
So you are asking like if there are two groups building a house and they are both using same kind of hammers, will the house look the same? I would say it depends on how you use the tools.
I think it's an interesting thing that we also came up that everybody will get these models. Everybody get these tools. You pay a bit more, you get fancier looking tool at least. But as we probably demonstrated right here is that the way that we use the tools and they actually already shifted our way of working. And we are just sharing that openly. And it's easy to share these ideas, but just to execute on these ideas, it's much harder. I think it comes down to what used to be true also before AI, that it's not about the ideas, how do you execute on those ideas, it actually which matters.
Yeah, and it's amazingly democratic time, as we are like, new AI tools are popping up all the time from left to right, and it's like the difference between the AI enthusiast using a tool and their mother using the same tool is a couple of weeks. So it's like you all have access to modern tools and the new ones that are coming all the time. So it's also like for everyone, be brave and try out things, because this is a great time for that.
And I want to share one more insight that we got from SpaceX folks. They're saying that when they are putting in like a public tool something and asking something about it, they are asking the same question from their own model. And okay, it doesn't respond even, or it didn't respond back in the few years ago. They were doing that and they also input the best answer from all the models that they got to this own one. And suddenly the own one was started to be better and all that. So that's some asset that you can start building. And that was the advice that we got, that, hey, when you do this, ask all the different public available tools and start collecting these, the ones that you feel. And that will be your asset, that will make the difference.
We're going to close the session because we are at time. I managed to keep these two gents on time, so I'm pretty happy with that. Thank you for the questions. Thanks to everyone who followed along online and here in the room. You'll hear more from Sami and Marco on their video series, and thank you both for being good sports with all the questions. Thanks again, everyone who attended. For now, I guess I'll just wish everyone a really great summer. Enjoy the sun and everything else, and we'll see you in the next crash course in September. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.